and welcome to the Webflow podcast, the podcast where we interview successful Webflowers about their 3 biggest failures as creative entrepreneurs. Now, obviously, this is the video recording of the podcast, but if you want just the audio, head to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts to listen to the edited version there. Also, I send out a banging newsletter every week called the Webflow Roundup to help you to become a more successful Webflower. So I send you the recording of the podcast, I send you 3 Webflow jobs, and I also send you an article and inspirational websites. So why not go sign up? Just check the link down there or go to webflow.com. Now, let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to episode 20 of Webflow, the podcast dedicated to uncovering the greatest failures behind the greatest Webflowers, because success often comes after learning from many failures. I'm your host, Jack Redley, a failure connoisseur, and today my guest is Hamish Duncan. At 16, he became a professional snowboarder, but at 22, he broke his back, forcing him to rethink his life. After finding a love of storytelling and brand identity design, Hamish eventually set up Penny Black that transforms digital products that move businesses, people, and the planet forward. Hamish, it's an honor to have you.
Great to be here, Jack.
Thank you so much for coming on the pod. It is so epic to have a semi-professional snowboarder turned creative on the pod. You are the first semi-professional snowboarder I've had on here. So it's pretty cool. I feel like a pretty cool guy, I've got to be honest, Hamish.
Well, it's great to be here. I wish I had younger knees. I wish I had the youth that I had back then.
What a cool reply that was. So let's talk about Penny Black. How did the name come about? I'm so intrigued by the name Penny Black. I just want to start with the name because I feel like this story encapsulates you.
Yeah, so I discovered that the first postage stamp, the first pre-postage stamp, I should say, was named the Penny Black. There was 2 versions, the Penny Red and the Penny Black. And I loved the name as soon as I found out the story, which was that the system before pre-postage came into effect was that you would pay for the mail that would come to your door. So the postie would knock at the door and you would say, okay, you owe me threepenny or whatever it was for this amount of mail. And you'd have to pay for it. And so they worked out that the system was highly ineffective. And so they introduced the pre-postage stamp system to encourage more people to use it. And so that's kind of, I love that idea that there would be a system in place that would get people or allow people to use something more in a positive way. And it did. The pre-postage system, the stamp system is what we know and love today.
Wow. So it kind of set the tone moving forward. And I guess that's kind of a big essence of what your brand does. I mean, transforming digital products that move businesses, people, and planet forward. You've got a very clear idea of what you do and who you do it for. And was that influenced by your snowboarding background, this love of the outdoors and wanting to work with clients that also cared about the climate?
So one of the key, I suppose it was more the transition away from snowboarding into digital design. And whilst I was in hospital in Grenoble after the injury, I had operations to go through. I'm learning to walk again, physio, etc. During that time, I used it to learn CSS, HTML, all the design packages. And really kind of transition away from snowboarding into something new, and that transformation wasn't easy. It's not easy, but I think that's actually gone on to help me work with clients in a more kind of empathetical way. because I can understand the kind of situation that they're in. Maybe it's loss of identity. They could be in crisis. Sometimes I work with clients that just want to advance the good times that they're already living. They've already got a great thing going, but they just want to do something more with it. But there are crisis situations as well. So I did feel that during that transition away from snowboarding, in that time that I had this kind of identity crisis, that I was able to kind of understand that from business owners' point of view, and help them on that level.
That's fascinating that when you were in your personal crisis at 22, you've kind of applied that same knowledge of stress, anxiety, and trying to work out where you're at and where you're going to businesses. It's such an interesting kind of life scenario or situation that happened that has given you that very unique knowledge of kind of how to cope, I guess.
Yeah, I feel really lucky to have had the opportunity to kind of turn something that would, to many outsiders, feel quite negative. But in actual fact, it's been a huge positive, because I've been able to kind of reinvent. I've been able to experiment. I've been able to kind of stay curious and expand my knowledge in lots of other fields, above and beyond just being what I would have been as a kind of fully turned professional snowboarder.
Yeah, and you're an insanely positive guy. I mean, I don't know many people that smile as much as you in the Webflow space. And I can't help feeling that maybe that is because you had a near-death experience, and you have kind of had to bounce back from that and realize what life means in a very, very unique way at such a young age, at 22, to realize that. I mean, do you think that as well? I think it's quite unique, your positive, upbeat attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't always positive around that time, but you have to find it. There are always times that difficult times that people go through, and you have to, dig really deep. And a lot of that comes from being able to speak to people. I had therapy. I had some really incredible therapy that was called EMDR, which is eye mobilization desensitization of the retina. It's a bit like hypnosis, but then you kind of relive the trauma of the event, and then you're able to. I had some panic attacks that if I heard a certain sound wavelength, then I would just be crying. I'd just be absolutely in tears, and almost be taken straight back to that kind of moment when I broke the back. So it's like a kind of physical, mental hijacking of the amygdala, which is the kind of fight or flight. And obviously that's unlivable. And so, yeah, then you have to kind of go through a process of discovery. You have to reach out to people for help. And I was fortunate that my local GP then put me onto somebody in the right field, and I was able to overcome that challenge. And I think of it all as a series of challenges, to overcome, and we'll find that in business as well, and in our professional lives, that these are just professional challenges to overcome.
And in the spirit of the podcast, I mean, this was just one massive failure that you had to learn from. And often the bigger the failure, or the bigger the kind of life event that happens, the more lessons you take from it, and the more you can apply that to whatever you do next in life. So I guess it was, as much as it was insanely traumatic, it's clearly influenced how successful you are in kind of dealing with brands who maybe are in crisis and are trying to deal with the climate crisis itself too.
So there's a common misconception with crisis or problems in general. As humans, especially those in the UK, and especially if you're a man in the UK, is that we often really suppress things. But like take it from me, it just gets worse. The more you suppress it, the worse it gets. And it's the same for companies as well. The more you hide problems, the more they're going to reveal themselves to be even worse. And also the problem itself is never as bad as the fear of what the problem is. When you actually do take the time to you know go through the motions, it's not as bad as you think. And by getting through it, you're able to find something new in yourself. You're able to find new energy to kind of take you on a new path, and that's hugely refreshing and revitalizing as well. Um, I produced a photo book in 2015. Yeah, 2015. I crowdfunded a photo book of it, like all about the trauma that I'd experienced, and I called it 22. So it was the 22 photo book, and that again was a great expression to kind of use photography that I'd picked up, and I'd been shooting with this camera that I loved, and I was able to kind of produce something as a positive out of that experience. And it was also a way for me to kind of connect back with a lot of friends that I'd lost touch with from snowboarding, because maybe I'd spent a few years just thinking, oh well, it's not, you know, I don't do that anymore, that's not part of who I am anymore, you know, when in actual fact it's just, well, as my mum would say, it's all part of life's rich tapestry, which I love, you know, because it's just this kind of, it's such a mum thing to say, but it's brilliant.
Yeah, my mum says
Um,
that.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But it's awesome to hear that, you know, you learned such a vital early lesson that, you know, from this terrible experience, it actually made you a lot stronger and shaped you as a person. Maybe whether that was a conscious thing or not, it just happened, and you kind of had to learn. But either way, it's an incredible lesson to learn, and hopefully one that you know, any young web flowers that are starting out, you know, can hear and be like, yeah, you know, the failures that you have are going to make you far stronger as a creative. Speaking of failures, tell me about failure number one: feeling overwhelmed and held back by people that are better than you.
Yeah. So, you know, growing up with skateboarding, snowboarding, there's always people around you that are, you know, doing the killer tricks. They're in the magazines, they're in the videos, they're super confident. You're seeing them as an, you know, you're. I mean, I was just chatting the other week with my good friend Duncan, and we were talking about Tom Penny, the legendary skateboarder, being at the local Pioneer Club, which is the skate park that you know, I was at as a teenager, helped kind of fundraise for the park as well, to keep it going, and it's still going today, which is great to see. And it's, you know, it can be very overwhelming, you know, to think of these individuals, and it was the same in snowboarding as well, you know, when you're trying to break into the field. But at the same time, you kind of have to turn that energy, you know, that you feel around, you know, not being good enough, and not ready, or to show yourself, you know, what you're capable of, to, you know, or that you might not be confident enough, and really kind of just find your kind of what drives you, what's what are you passionate about in that kind of expression, because everybody will have their own interpretation of an expression. So for instance, there's a trick called the method grab. Now anybody can do a method grab, but you'll never see the same method grab on a skateboarder or a snowboarder. And actually, we with friends, we often have when I go riding with friends in the mountains now, we have like a method day. So we'll all be doing methods, and then we'll set the method. So you'll say, oh, like do a Jamie Lynn method, or do a Terrier method, because you know the different ways where they grab the board to do. So it's the same trick, but they're doing it in very different ways. They're expressing the trick in different ways. So I think that's the kind of metaphor for all of this, really, is that if you're trying to develop a portfolio, if you're trying to, you know, find your style, you know, it's always to go back to what really makes you tick. What do you find inspiring? what really kind of sets you alight, and then you can, kind of take that to your process to drive your creativity. Yeah, for me, that was actually a huge realization. And I was able to then take bigger steps and reach, a semi-pro level where I was being paid to go and ride events and working with photographers that I'd respected, being featured in magazines and these kind of things, which was a fantastic experience. I would have loved to have gone further. I would have loved to have had an opportunity to be in some of the kind of the bigger videos and a chance at the Olympics, but sadly it was cut short because of the injury. But I'd had a hugely exciting and inspiring experience of just reaching that level alone.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you say you're feeling overwhelmed and held back by people that are better than you, I think a lot of Webflowers might feel the same thing when you go on Twitter or Instagram or see people's amazing work, and it can be like, oh, I really, really want to be the one that's creating that work. And you can get feelings of jealousy when you see such incredible work that you haven't made but someone else has. But actually, what you're saying is, if you are part of that community and you are inspired by that work and apply that to your own Webflow journey, then you're going to be better off for it. You can do your own method grab of the Webflow world, and also, if you help lift others up, then that energy will be reciprocated and other people will lift you up too.
Yeah, and these like we were saying earlier, these problems aren't as big as you think they are until until you kind of face them, and the inspiration that's going on around you. So it may feel like you're behind, or that you're not able to kind of reach those levels, but you can and you will if you continue to evolve your own process. And you stay curious and stay inspired by the work that's going on around you. So it's just how we interpret the what we're seeing and what we're kind of experiencing when we do look at this work that we're maybe frightened of or threatened by, when in actual fact it's just purely for inspiration.
Yeah, I love this idea of if you feel behind, you're not behind. It's there's no in front or behind. You're running your own race, as it were, and everyone is doing their own race, and everyone can learn from each other in some respect, regardless of where you are in your path, which I absolutely love. So tell me about failure number 2 then, failing to appreciate being a generalist.
Yeah, so this comes from my early days in my career in London, after I'd left snowboarding and I'd started working at agencies and production companies, and I'd often get called the jack of all trades, master of none, and so I always kind of felt that was a negative thing. But as I learned more about Steve Jobs and other neo-generalists, as it were, that I found that I was able to kind of be in the middle of everything but at the center of nothing. That was a quote that came up on a Brian Eno interview that I heard, and it's that curiosity bit, being able to be across many different fields, whether it be taking photographs to drawing to enjoying writing to enjoying the outside world, the natural world, learning more about different species or the world around us is I mean for me there's lots of different areas that I find interesting. Sports in general, obviously, but everybody will have their own interests, and it's not to say that you have to kind of shut any of those out. I think it's very easy for us to kind of be blinkered. I mean, we all have blind spots as humans, but it's very easy to say blinkered and think, oh, well, I can't do that because, my degree is in this. And actually, I've got a master's in this degree, which is actually, that's actually a niche within a niche. So even a niche, so I think there's a lot in culture that's kind of saying, well, yeah, but you need to be, you need to be this.
Yeah.
Well, you need to be a specialist. Yeah. I mean, my first career advisor, when I was at school, I kind of met him and I said, oh, like, I'm really, I've joined the British snowboarding team and I love this snowboarding world. I love the natural world. And he was like, yeah, you should join the army. And I was like, it was not what I was expecting. So, which is fine.
What a weird jump to be.
It
like,
was really weird
snowboarding.
jump. And I love the natural world. Join the army. Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I probably can understand that a bit more now. But yeah, I think staying inspired, staying curious, being that in the middle of everything, but at the center of nothing, and you don't need, and that's very much the Webflow community. There's so many different people doing so many different types of work. You don't have to. It may look like those people are at the center of those things, but they're just in the middle of it, like everyone else is in the middle of it. We're all pigs in shit, as it were. Sorry.
So, so what I'm hearing from you is stay curious. Don't be a clone. There are plenty of people in the Webflow space that are doing well in their own respective way, but that doesn't just mean copy them. Make sure to tap into your own general interests and let that inspire your own creativity. Can you tell us a little bit about Harry Dodds? Because shout out Harry, big listener of Webflow. But you spoke to Harry the other day, and I think this is really important for anyone that's thinking about setting up their own portfolio, the advice that you gave him.
Yeah, so Harry had a really inspiring NFT project. His great little illustrations that he'd been doing, and I think he's working with a friend on it. And there was very much a decoupling between that and what I was seeing from the site that he'd put out for his professional work. So yeah, we had a chat. I was kind of like, well, could you bring some of those ideas to what you're doing over on the kind of corporate or business portfolio presentation side of things you're doing, because that expression was maybe a truer to who Harry is. I mean, this is all like wood for the trees stuff, like you can't see the wood for the trees because you're too close, and I think I think what's so brave about Harry is that he, when I put on Twitter, oh, like I'm having like, virtual coffees with people, putting a link out, people want to just catch up for a coffee, no agenda, like 10, 15 minutes. It's actually one of Maker Matt's ideas. I thought it was brilliant. And just a great, we're all in this kind of, very, solo world of working from home. What a great way to kind of get out of our heads and to be able to kind of talk about different challenges that other people are facing, and a problem shared is a problem solved. And I think for Harry, it was great for us to just have that chat, and think about this kind of cross-pollination of ideas. And it was again really positive for me to kind of have that conversation with Harry, because then I was able to come away, reassess the projects that I'm working on. And everybody wins.
So great advice there, in my opinion as well. If you are super passionate about NFTs, or you're super passionate about cooking, or whatever it is that is part of your identity, and don't be afraid to express that, through Webflow projects that you do, through clients that you want to attract, through your own portfolio and style, because there are plenty of clonables out there that are all great, but they're not you, and you don't want to be a clone. And just be aware of that when you're making your own portfolio. I think is a really, really important lesson to share. And can I just add, by the way, that the quote "Jack of all trades," that's only half the quote. Do you know what the full quote is, Hamish?
No, I want to know.
It's "Jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than master of one." Did you know that?
There you go.
So that
So
pretty
it'd
much
just be
summarizes what we've been saying.
all that time.
I know, because I'm called Jack, so everyone says, "Oh, yeah."
That's it.
Jack.
I was going to say, excuse the pun, but I wasn't sure it was a pun.
Well, I mean, I am definitely a generalist. If anything, I don't really know what I am. But what I'm trying to say is that full quote summarizes in my head what we've been talking about. Jack of all trades, master of none, though oftentimes better than master of one. So there you go.
I mean, it's excellent. It feels very meta that I'm on a call with someone called Jack, and Jack is telling me about what the Jack of all trades, master of none quote is in full. That then makes me feel reassured by being a generalist. I mean, this is full circle.
What we've been talking about. I mean, this is this is going to go down in podcast history, everyone.
Hopefully that will be at the start.
Yeah. But I do think it's important to express your personality through whatever work you're doing. I think it's so important, and it's going to attract the type of clients that you want to work with, who have a similar aesthetic appeal that you can provide for them, because they're attracted to your portfolio for what it is, and also probably the type of industry that you want to attract as well. So I think we've talked about this point enough.
There's a good Buddhist expression for this. Motto. I don't know what the Buddhists call it, but anyway, it's the path of least resistance. So taking the path of least resistance, which I always quite liked, because it's like not fighting it, but thinking of just following the whatever feels right.
I love that. I'm not a Buddhist, but I'm considering it now. Tell me about failure number 3: realizing money is an energy and failing at investing in the wrong projects.
Yeah, so this is a project that I that got involved with in my early days in my career in London. Decided to launch an umbrella brand. And so I had some umbrellas produced. I'd
literally an umbrella brand, not like an umbrella brand.
Not like loads of businesses, like some sort of megalomaniac. So I had this idea that I'd love to kind of, if I was underneath an umbrella, I could look up and enjoy some contemporary artwork, and I'd associated with some artists at the time. Decided that I'd love to kind of get some prints made and get them on the underside of these umbrellas. They looked absolutely beautiful. There was nothing wrong with the product per se, but my heart wasn't in, or my gut wasn't in umbrellas. I didn't want to be an umbrella businessman, and so the energy of that had a shelf life. I was able to get through a season of producing the products, but I wasn't, and I sold them to, I think it was like 18 different stores as far as Japan even. So there was some thirst for it in the kind of street culture world, had some publicity and all of that was that was great, but I just didn't want to make umbrellas.
So as a result of your heart not being in it, you realize that, you didn't have the drive behind it, even though it seemed like commercially, there was money in these umbrellas. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so there's an overarching theme to everything that we're kind of talking about, which is the purpose in what we're doing. And whether that be the creative outcome of your portfolio, or whether it be in the feeling overwhelmed around the community of fantastic designers, developers, how to stand out, how to make a claim, how to get more work, whatever your goal is. It's the same as the umbrellas. That you need something to guide you. You need some sort of purpose, some sort of why.
You need
it's fine
alignment.
that there's fine to have a what and a how. I guess Webflow's the how. And the what is the client, or it's the execution, whatever you're trying to execute, which is all fine and good. But I think that the work that I've seen in the field, and any work in general, or any brand that stands out the most, is why they do it. No, people buy Apple because it's those people think differently, or they are people that, or the brand SUs, or can't remember my terminology now, but think different.
They believe in Steve
they
Jobs
believe in it.
and what he symbolizes, I guess. This idea of
and the role that they play in our lives, the tools that they offer. That it's a great computer, or it's a great phone, but there's loads of other companies that produce phones and computers, but it's this computer and this phone that I choose because I like what that brand says. Simon Sinek is a great reference for this. Start with Why, which is a brilliant book, and you can see his talks on YouTube.
So what you're essentially saying is, if your heart isn't in umbrellas, don't sell them. And I think this, the quote of the episode, my heart wasn't in umbrellas. But what you're really saying is, say a tobacco company comes to you and says, I'll pay you 3 million quid to do a rebrand and do our website. It's having that alignment between your thoughts, words, and actions to say, you know what, that money, that's not what I want to spend my time doing. And it doesn't matter what the money, the financial exchange is. It's not what I want to do, and it's not going to be my best work, and I'm not going to feel aligned with that project, so I'm not going to take it on. And that comes from knowing yourself.
There's another helpful tool. I'm just going to dig it out. It's called the Ikigai. Have you ever heard of the Ikigai?
Yeah. Is this kind of Japanese triangle?
It's like a fancy Venn diagram, let's say. It's not just a Venn diagram, because it's got, or is a Venn diagram just 3? Sorry. Can it be 4?
Yeah,
anyway,
the 3 overlapping circles.
Yeah. So it's what you love, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, and what you're good at. And inside where those overlap, you get passion, mission, vocation, and a profession.
And if those things align, then you will have a happy, fulfilling life, I guess.
Well, you don't necessarily have to have them align, but if you can use that tool to just start to narrow the goal of what you're trying to achieve, or the vision for what you're trying to achieve. So because of my back injury, I got very invested in transformation, this idea of transformation. And then I also thought about, well, what the world needs is we need to accelerate this, because obviously we've got the climate crisis. So how do we accelerate it? How do we accelerate transitions? Well, we have to, find something like play, because I've always loved play, the idea of play, which the German educationist, there's a great German educationist called Friedrich Frobel, who quoted that he said, play is the engine that powers education, which I think is amazing. And that realization that actually as a child, I would always be playing with Lego. I loved Lego. And as a child, that for me, that was constructive work. I didn't see it as play. I was going to build Dover Ferryport. When I went through Dover Ferryport on the way to our family holiday in France, I spent 2 weeks in France thinking about how to build Dover Ferryport out of Lego, like the whole 2 weeks. Like absolutely just transfixed. Okay, I'm gonna have to do like a ramp, and I'm gonna need like a oneer and a twoer and a flat, and then the blocks will kind of, and I could use. There's a bit of that railway set that I could use for the kind of that, the kind of freight bit. I came back. I remember this like it was yesterday. I came back and ran straight upstairs, and I spent 5 hours building Dover Ferryport, and it didn't matter that it was the wrong color. It didn't matter that all the blocks were a different color. It was my interpretation of Dover Ferryport.
and the lesson to draw from this
is build more Lego. Well,
you completely threw me there. I had no idea
where we were going. What is this? Why are we talking about Dover Ferryport? Oh God.
I'm crying. Oh my God. You just don't.
Oh no. No, so like let's bring it back to Webflow, because otherwise we're not going to ever finish this conversation. So when building with Webflow, it's a bit like Lego, just I need a oneer, I need a twoer, I need a threeer, I need a fourer, I need a block, I need a flat section. Oh God, tenuous links.
With me.
Oh God.
Oh my God. Okay. I think we've got some good bits. No, but okay,
Crikey.
wait. If we were to try and pull something from that,
Yeah.
what you're saying is that when you're in a state of play, when you're in that flow state, that is when you do your best creative work. So you need to find people that align with you, that have a purpose, have a mission, that you want to spend time trying to figure their problems out, so that you do your best creative work. They're the right client for you, and you've got to know yourself enough to know what feels like play for you. And frankly, the best moments in life don't come from having the most money. That's why loads of millionaires and billionaires are miserable, because money does not necessarily equal happiness, right? So work out what your state of play is and chase that feeling, I think.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing that we have, and there's lots of writing on it. There's loads of things that we could talk about play, but I think what it does, that state of flow, that is the kind of consistent thing when I think about snowboarding. Think about finding that kind of flow state and being able to kind of maximize the potential in learning new tricks. And the same with learning Webflow. If when I'm playing with an idea like Outless, because I love the idea and I love the way in which I've now built half an API. And I'd never, if somebody said, "Oh, do you fancy building an API?" I'd be like, bore off. I just wouldn't have done it, because I'd have looked it up on a dictionary and been like, "It's a what?" No, I'm not going to build one of them. But because it's a project that I'm invested in and interested in, then it comes much easier. And it's often the slow and steady is faster in the end, because you're going to play with that idea, you're going to tweak it, you're going to work into it. Whereas something that you're trying to force, or you're trying to like, oh, I've got to get in flow state, or where do I find this flow state? Where is it? That's it's not gonna work that way. You've actually got to be interested. You've actually got to be curious. You've actually got to be thinking about it, not just when you're working at it, but you're actually thinking about it away from the computer. When you're meant to be, doing something else, or you're watching TV or something. Sometimes those kind of moments come to you where you think, what if I did that? And that's always an exciting feeling. I love that feeling.
So finding your purpose is going to dictate, the quality of the Webflow work that you do, because you're going to attract those types of clients that really get on with you. And I love this idea of like working out what your flow state is, because it's different from everyone. So I've got a harder question for you now to finish on. What is your next failure going to be?
Oh, crikey. My next failure, I've no idea.
Tough question.
I've no idea. Hopefully not as big as a broken back. I mean, it could be another umbrella moment, let's say.
So between broken back and umbrella,
I find and this is maybe sounds a bit cheesy, but I found that as I get older, I'm more kind of resilient to failures, or at least I'm kind of I set myself up to win even if I fail, because at least I've got so a project may not go right, a client relationship may not go well. We're humans, we're human beings, we're not androids, thankfully, yet. We are living beings. We make mistakes. We don't do everything the right way. We're not meant to. And actually, if you can take your failures and realize not just the lessons that you've learned from them, but also ways in which you can just do it differently, that you can just minimize the effects that it has on you, then I think then you can always win through failure as well, because something else will come out of it, and maybe the universe has a plan for us. Maybe it I don't know. NASA said the other day they had no idea what was going on in the universe. So I'm with NASA. I've got no idea. Just going to keep going.
So you kill me. I am on the edge the whole time.
I know. Sorry. I didn't mean to that time. I didn't mean to. Okay.
But basically, what you're saying is,
effectively, I'm saying, just talk to your mates, tell them you love them. Talk to your friends.
We'll end on that. That's great.
Yeah.
Great. So what your next failure is going to be, not sure, but tell your mates you love them. I love that.
Yeah. And just, keep going. You got this.
Hamish, you've been a hilarious guest. Where can people find you if they want to message you about this incredible episode?
Well, you can connect with me through all of the usual social media channels. Instagram, I'm at Hambarine. Twitter, I think I'm at Hambarine, or I'm just Hamish Duncan. I don't know.
At Hamish Duncan.
At Hamish Duncan, yeah, and LinkedIn and all of that malarkey. But yeah, the website, pennyblack.co. Yeah, contact me through that. and I'm always up for a virtual coffee.
So book a virtual coffee with Hamish if you want to chat more about purpose and yeah, get some feedback on your portfolio or whatever. I can vouch for Hamish. He is very, very insightful giving feedback. So definitely do that. This episode will be straight in your inbox with the Webflow Roundup. If you haven't signed up, why haven't you? Webflow.com/newsletter. You're going to get 3 inspirational websites. You're going to get 3 Webflow jobs. You're going to get 1 article, and you're going to get this amazing edited podcast episode in your inbox every Tuesday. So why not sign up for it? Hamish, you've been a great guest. You've got a camera. You want to take a picture?
We've got to do a few. Yeah, so we'll just do 4.
Okay.
We'll do. Okay, we need a serious one. We need a playful one. We need a purposeful one, and the last one you can just do whatever you want. Okay, serious one first.
Okay. What is serious? Just like
yeah, exactly. Prisoner cell block H. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. Playful one. That's great. That's a pout. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I fully found it.
Okay. Okay. Third one. What did we say? Purposeful. Look like an explorer. Oh, that's good. Okay. Last one. Do whatever you want.
Okay, maybe just maybe a bit of that.
Oh, that's great. Okay, they're going to be a winner.
Okay, great.
Brilliant. Oh, thanks, Jack. I really enjoyed chatting to you. Thank you so much.
That was hilarious. I
really
almost fully lost it when you talked about
Split
Dover.
Sides. Let's all go to Dover Ferry Terminal on the next Webflow meetup.
Oh, I would love it. International trip by ferry. I 100% think you should. That was hilarious. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, no, me too. It happened.